Hey, what's up there, YouTube friends? Grumpy Gamer Dad here. This is Making the Nightmare, Season 4, Episode 4, and this is the episode I'm devoting to redoing Oogie Boogie. Not a complete redo, I'm just making a few changes to the Oogie Boogie I built last year. We are going to build the wheel that he uses, his little roulette wheel with the skeleton on it. I'm going to build the handle. I'm actually going to make that wheel handle move using a deer motor. This is the third project I've done this year that's going to use that kind of motor. Also, I'm going to paint him fluorescent green. So stick around as we build Oogie Boogie 2.0, let's call it. Sure, why not? Okay, so today we are going to work on Oogie Boogie's wheel, the cranking mechanism. So we have an end cap here that we will drill out so we can put it onto our deer motor. Attach that to the main shaft here. We're going to use a coupler, and you've got just a little bit of PVC here because the wheel itself will fit into here. And so this is about a 1/4 inch material, so I have enough space there. I add another coupler. I'm going to go with a straight shaft to an elbow, down a little bit, and then another elbow with a shaft, which we are going to cap off. We're going to attach this all, glue it down, and give it a base coat of black spray paint. To make the wheel itself, the little circle part that attaches to the crank, we have this Dremel bit here. It's got it's like a compass. It's got a point here that you center, and then you attach this to the Dremel tool, and you can make circles with it. And just like that, I have a wheel. So I do have a pilot point there. That will be the basis for the hole that I'll put the PVC through. Now I get to prime it black. This side will remain black still, but this side will have that swirl of orange black light paint, which I happen to have. When working with spray paint, I do recommend use gloves. Thanks to COVID, probably everybody has some of these. Here's the painted crank for Oogie Boogie's hand crank for part of the wheel. Okay, so I gave the wheel that's attached to the Oogie Boogie crank a second set of paint, and I outlined the areas that I didn't want to glow in black. Basically, I cleaned it up a little bit, and now it's ready to go. Alright, so today we are going to build the mount for the Oogie Boogie Wheel of Death here. This is the crank portion of it. The actual wheel will not move. This will be hooked up to a deer motor and spin. I'm going to use some 2x4s. I'm going to actually use two 2x4s, have one with the motor attached to it, and the other one will be the support for the crank because it's so long and heavy. Okay, I've basically built the frame for the crank assembly here, and I've got it going with the motor. So I did the sketch, the outline of the Oogie Boogie wheel here again. This time I used Sharpie and came up with a much better result, as you can see. So I'm going to begin the process of cutting it out. One half of the plywood has been cut out. The other half is going to be cut out now. The problem is that this was a packing crate, and because it's a packing crate, it has nails in it. So I have to stop, remove the nails, because I don't want the saw to go through them. Now this plywood that I'm using is only about a 1/4 inch thick. It's not the greatest, but it's repurposed. That was the goal. Well, there you go. I have two halves of plywood that together make one whole circle. Okay, so I've taped off Oogie Boogie's wheel in a spiral pattern. So we're going to have alternating stripes. We'll have an alternating pink and yellow fluorescent every other space. Hopefully this turns out okay. So here's how it looks now. I actually went back and I looked at the source material, and there are actual instances where some of the colors are consecutive. So I have to add the little spikes here to make the crank work, in theory. It's not actually going to operate that way. And then I have to curve off these sharp tape lines so it looks more natural, it looks circular. It's a spiral after all. Okay, so it's still drying, but I just finished with the Oogie Boogie wheel. I painted the little spikes for the spokes, basically, where I had previously painted it with this fluorescent pink spray paint. I over painted it with this blue black light neon paint to make it more purple, because that's really how it looks in the movie. For the areas that I had previously spray painted yellow, I just went over them again with this black light neon yellow paint, much like the blue. It's kind of hard to see, but the areas that are supposed to be purple also have this pink outline, little swirly here. Why did I use black light paint, you might ask? Well, when it's all said and done, when this whole thing's dry, at night I will put on a black light projector. So this will look something like this. Alright, so we're on the final stage of Oogie Boogie's wheel assembly here. I'm going to drill in holes so that I can strap the skeleton to the wheel itself. He will be hanging upside down. And then I also bought these lights, so I'm going to actually staple these down to the wood itself. If only I could have these lights flash. I don't think that they came with a flashing bulb. So here's the completed wheel with the lights and the skeleton attached. And you can see it's next to the work in progress Oogie Boogie. The stand for the crank is all done. All I really need to do is finish Oogie Boogie up, and this is ready to rock for Halloween night. I started off this year with every intention of redoing Oogie Boogie's head. I just didn't like the way it looked. It looked flat last year. And when I look inside, it's because the wiring that was supposed to puff it up wasn't that big to begin with, so his head looks shrunken. I'm going to see if I can't fix this with some foam instead of this chicken wire. Of course, now I have to get all of these pieces, which make up his entire frame, into here. One of the things I didn't also like last year was the color of his body. I bought this burlap and then I thought, well, I'm going to spray some glow-in-the-dark paint on it and then that will make it look good at night, right? Wrong. I spent about $40 in glow-in-the-dark paint and it glowed for about 2 minutes. Finally, in frustration, I had to put a green spotlight on him just to give him a green glow. This year, however, I'm using some fluorescent green paint, much like I did with his wheel, and so this with the black light will help him have that glow-in-the-dark look. So that was just one quick coat, and you can see the effects already. Alright, so I got the lower portion of Oogie Boogie completed. I'm going to start the upper portion, but I just wanted to show you the difference in how he's going to look. The top portion that is the natural burlap with, you can still see some of the remnants of that glow-in-the-dark spray paint. The bottom portion, of course, he's got that new neon green paint. Here is the completed Oogie Boogie wheel and that wheel crank. I've already had them put out on the lawn. And here is the newly repainted, or painted, Oogie Boogie. So normally I would do the closer of the video in the garage, and because, well, I was still working in there. However, we had like a record once in 100-year storm a couple days ago here in California, and so it delayed everything. So I've already put everything out on my lawn. As you can see, Oogie Boogie's outside. Hope you enjoyed it. Only one video remains, and that is putting the pumpkin arch up in front of my doorway. So there you go. Stay tuned. Only one more episode before Halloween.